what the concept is and how to deal with it. Right? So we are going to start with the estimator topic, in which we have the first thing as example. And the example is coming from your book S.C. Gupta and V.K. Kapoor, where we have been given that a random sample. Here we have the sample given as x1, x2, x3, x4, x5. These are the five random samples we have taken. We have taken from a normal population with unknown mean mu. We are saying these samples are being coming from a normal population with unknown mean mu, and we have taken the different estimators. We know how to calculate the mean, है ना? If we have used the first one, T1, then it is x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5, means sum of all random values divided by the 5. This is the first estimator we have chosen. Might be the second and the fifth are not much important to me. So what we have done, we have calculated one more estimator 2t. Again, we are estimating mean, and we have five samples, but depending upon the scenario that how much important a particular random sample is, we are going to take the different estimators. As yesterday we have learned that there are some different ways to calculate the estimator, and there are different type of sampling also, that we have learned. So here we are saying T2 is also an estimator of the population given by the mean of x1 and x2. We have taken only x1 x2 into consideration and added x3 value to it. Correct? And the third one, if we talk about T3, it's an also estimator where we have taken twice of x1 plus x2 plus lambda times x3. Now we are not sure about how many times we have added x3. And finally, again, we have calculated the mean this plus this divided by 3. Okay? So we are looking for the population of a normal distribution, of a population which is normally distributed. And these are the estimators that we have framed. Right? And it is given that lambda is a value such that T3 is an unbiased estimator of mu. It is given that T3 is an unbiased estimator, and we are looking for first the value of lambda. Just a minute, let me allow if somebody wants to come. Himanshu. So here we have, it is given that lambda is such that T3 is unbiased estimator of mu. This is given to us, and we are looking for the value of lambda, and we are saying are T1 and T2 unbiased. It is already given that this T3 is unbiased, it is known to us, and they are asking us that are T1 and T2 unbiased. Okay, so we have two questions actually, no, the three, and here we have see the third question, state giving reason the estimator which is best among T1, T2 and T3. So the first thing is we have been provided with the knowledge that these three are the estimators. One estimator is given that is unbiased, another two estimators are given to us, and they are asking us whether
Ma'am,
they are
actually, ma'am, this question came in my friend's CA, ma'am.
okay.
Yeah, same
Have they
question.
no have they done regarding this
Ma'am, no, ma'am,
ongoing.
ma'am, no, ma'am. He was not in summer term.
Okay, earlier.
Previous year, earlier, ma'am. He sent it to me, but I could not do it at that time because I didn't know about this estimator.
Doesn't matter. Let's see how we have to solve it. So there are three questions. We have to find out the value of lambda, this lambda, so that T3 become an unbiased estimator. No, it's given, sorry. We have to find out lambda, and it is given T3 is unbiased estimator. We are looking for T1, T2, and we have to check whether they are biased or unbiased. And the third part is we have to choose among these three which one of the following is the best estimator. Right? So how we are going to do? We have the formula that we have already learned, that how we can write on the variance. Variance of x is given as e of x square minus ex whole square. Correct? So this is the formula that we have to revise, and what we are given with, we have been provided with that the mean is mu, means if we talk about the expected value, this is mu, not 4. correct? So here we have expected value of xi is mu. If we have xi as a random variable, and the variance is given as sigma square, correct? These are we are taking regarding the xi's. Now if we talk about T1, T2 and T3, how we can show that they are biased or unbiased? In order to show that, what we have to do, we have to show the expected value is equal to mu or not equal to mu, correct? So this is how we have to proceed. We have to use the formula of T1, whatever T1 is given to us, and if expected value of T1 is equal to mu, as is coming over here, so it is unbiased estimator as per the definition that we have learned. And if we are getting a different value which is not coming as mu, so we can say it is a biased estimator. Correct? So here we have been provided with the value of T1. Here x1 to x5 the sum divided by 5. So if we have taken expected value of T1, we have written sum in between and saying we have to find out expected value of this whole, correct? Now if we have this divided by 5, we know this is a constant, so constant always come outside, you know? So here we have 1 by 5 and expected value of this sum x1 to x5. Now if I open it, as already we have done regarding how to work on expected values, so you might be aware of, if we have e of x1 plus x2 like this, what we do, we open it, expected value of x1 plus expected value of x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5. Now what we are saying that if e of each xi is mu, so what is this? We are getting mu plus mu plus mu plus mu plus mu, 5 times mu. So here if we write down 5 times mu divided by 5, what will give me? It gives me mu. It means if we have shown that t is unbiased estimator of mu. Correct? So this is, we have checked one of the thing that T1 is an unbiased estimator. Correct? Let's go to T2. Now what is T2? T2 has been given as x1 plus x2 by 2 plus x3. This was the value of T2. Let me write down over here. What we have been provided with, T2 is given as x1 plus x2 by 2 and plus of x3. Correct? This is our T2. What is Anwar saying? So here we have e of x1 plus x2. If we have taken the expected value of this whole, then it is equal to expected value of x1 plus x2 by 2 and plus expected value of 3. And if I open it and take this 2 outside, it becomes 1 by 2 expected value of x1 plus expected value of x2 and this expected value of x3 as such. Correct? Now again, if I take e of xi is mu, so this is mu, this is mu and this is mu. And if I solve the first term, it becomes mu plus mu, 2 mu, 2 mu divided by 2 gives me mu again. And this mu as such, so as a total, if we see, what we are getting is 2 of mu. Is it? So from here we can see that T2 is not unbiased. So what it means? It means we are getting T2 as a biased estimator. Correct? So this is what we are getting. That here we have checked that T1 is unbiased because expected value of T1 is equal to mu. If we have worked for T2, so what is T2? We are getting the expected value of T2 is equal to twice of mu. It means T2 is not unbiased, or we can say T2 is a biased estimator of mu. So we have done for T1, we have done for T2. Now it's done for the T3. So if we work for T3, what the formula we have? Actually for T3 it is already given that it is an unbiased estimator, and what we are looking for, we are looking for the value of lambda. Now this is how the question is framed, that if T3 is
Ma'am,
unbiased estimator.
ma'am, I want to ask you, ma'am, in the ma'am previous two questions, ma'am, how we can understand that whether one is unbiased or biased estimator, not an unbiased estimator.
In the previous two questions, you see other two parts.
Yes, ma'am. That yes, ma'am.
See, here what we are saying, we have the population mean as mu,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? And
Yes,
we
ma'am.
are looking for the expected value of xi is also mu. Use a pointer. Here what we are looking for, whenever In the earlier lecture, we have learned that an estimator is biased or unbiased depending upon if we have a parameter population parameter theta, and we are estimating with theta cap. So what we have written as a definition, if expected value of theta cap is equal to theta, then it is known to be unbiased. Here what we
Okay.
are saying, we are doing regarding the mean. This is the population parameter mu. This is the
Hmm.
sample parameter xi.
Hmm.
Correct? So here we are saying that if expected value of xi is mu for one
Hmm.
sample, and similarly it is for all others. So we have taken some estimator t, t1, t2 and
Hmm.
t3. So if
Hmm.
expected value of this whole t1, whatever the formula is, it's a different thing. If we have expected value of t1 with which we are estimating is given me the same thing as mu, the population mean, then
Hmm.
it is unbiased. And here in second example, what we said, here when we have done expected value of t2, what we got is not mu, but we got twice of mu. So
Okay.
this
Okay.
will
Okay.
be the population parameter.
Okay, ma'am.
Similarly, in T3, if we talk about, it is already given, it is unbiased. So what we have to do, it means we have been provided with that expected value of T3 is mu. This is given to us. Correct? It is unbiased. It means expected value of this estimator, because these are no, given as an estimator. T1, T2, T3 are the estimators for the mean. Correct? For which we are just adding the values of either first and second term, third up from the third sample also, and whatever we are doing. Here again we have calculated the mean with the formula twice of x1 plus x2 plus lambda of x3 divided by 3. This is our third estimator T3. Correct? So if I take that it is given that it is unbiased estimator, it means expected value of T3 should be equal to mu. So if T3 is to be written here, here this is the value of T3 given as. So if we work on it, it must be equal to mu. This is means. So if I open it, 1 by 3 should be outside, or we can take 3 on this side to be multiplied with mu. So it becomes 3 mu here. Correct? Or we can say multiply 3 on both the sides. So 3 will cancel out, and this will give me 3 mu. And if I open this bracket inside, expected value of 2x1, so we know the rule, 2 has to come in as it's a constant, so it will come outside, and it will give me expected value of x1. So it is ex1. Next is x2, so it's just simple e of x2 as such, and this lambda is a constant obviously, so lambda into expected value of x3, ex3. Correct? Now again, e of x1 is mu, e of x2 is mu, e of x3 is mu. So if I put the values, it becomes 2 mu. From here, 2 into mu plus lambda mu is 3 mu. So if we write down, it is 3 mu plus lambda mu should equal to 3 mu. So if we just see after simplification, if 3 mu will come here, it will give me lambda mu should be 0. It means lambda is 0. So this is one of the question being asked for. The one thing we have solved, we have seen that out of T1 and T2, T1 is unbiased estimator, T2 is biased estimator. Correct? And how we have done, by finding out the expected value of T1, we are getting mu, which is correct because it is estimating the population means. If we have taken expected value of T2, it was coming as 2 mu, so it is a biased estimator. Here it is already given that it is unbiased, it means expected value of T3 is mu. Correct? So we have calculated lambda is equal to 0. Now what the second question is remaining? The second question is, out of these estimators, we have to find out which of the estimator is best. So how to find it out? Anyone can let me know what the thing we have learned, how to find out that out of the given estimator, which estimator is best. We have already discussed yesterday, because these are the small things, but we have to take care of each and everything, because question can be asked in any you can say topic, you know, whatever the topics we are learning. Obviously examiner can see that this is your course content and they can ask you. Yes, anyone can let me know what is the condition. Who is still coming? Farhan. Farhan, I have given you the entry today, but from tomorrow I will not allow anyone to come in between the lecture. If you have to come in the first 10 minutes, you are welcome. Otherwise, there is no need to disturb the class. Correct? This is the rule actually. Either online we are working or we are there face to face. Correct? So today I have disturbed the class, not the next time. And this is already I have discussed tomorrow, sorry, yesterday also, that we should come in time. चलिए. So this is what we have calculated two things. Now the third thing what we are required for, we have to show or we have to find out actually that out of T1, T2, T3, which one is the best one. So what is the condition for finding out the best estimator? Anyone of you can answer me? Okay. If you don't remind what we have the things, let me make you remind. We have learned regarding the variance. Correct? If you remember, if we have the different estimators which are biased or unbiased, we are going to take the best estimator is one having the small variance. Correct? This is what we have learned. So let us calculate the variance of T1, T2 and T3, and we have to find out which of the estimator is giving me the smallest variance. Correct? And it is already being taken that variance of each one of them is sigma square. Correct? So if I use the formula variance, how we are going to show? Variance of T1 is again variance of all these, this is T1. So this is all sum divided by 5. So we have opened it. We have taken variance of x1 divided by 5, sorry 25, variance of x2 divided by 25, because when we look for the variance, this n is going to be squared. Correct? And what is the variance of x1, x2, x3 and x5? These all are coming as sigma square. So total if we calculate, it becomes 5 sigma square by 25, give me 1 by 5 sigma square. This is the variance of T1. Similarly, for variance of T2, we have the formula for T2 is, it has been given, the formula is x1 plus x2 by 2, and we have taken x3 outside. Remember, this is the formula for T2. So if we calculate variance of this, what it becomes? It becomes 1 by 4. This is going to be square. 1 by 4 variance of x1 plus variance of x2 plus variance of x3 outside. So variance of x1 is sigma square plus sigma square divided by 4, and this is variance of x3 is sigma square. So again on solving we are getting 3 by 2 of sigma square. This is variance of x2. And similarly, in the same process, if we continue, we are getting variance of x3 as, this is our T3 formula. So if we go for 2x1 plus x2 plus lambda, we have calculated as 0, so it will not come into the picture, and we are getting twice of x1 plus x2 divided by 3. So 3 will come outside with the square, so it is 1 by 9, and variance of 2x1 plus x2. Correct? It means if I open it, it again 2 will come outside as 4. Correct? This is a change in the expectation and variance. When we are talking about variance, whenever this constant is coming out, it has to be squared as per the formula. Correct? So this is what we have. Variance of 2x1 means 4 into variance of x1 plus variance of x2. So if we write on the value, it's 4 sigma square plus sigma square give me 5 sigma square by 9. So we are getting the first value as 1 by 5, 3 by 2 and 5 by 9. 1 by 5 means 0.2, 3 by 2 means 1.5 and 5 by 9 means 0.4 something. Correct? So here we have calculated the variance, and on comparison what we can say that since variance of T1 is least, it means T1 is the best estimator of mu. And what was T1? T1 was nothing else but the simple mean formula, sum of all divided by n. Correct? So this was the whole long question that we have discussed. I'm taking a pause. Let me know if some doubt is there, or if it is clear, then that's good. Should we continue? Because after that, we are going to work with the another, you can say, the part of the estimator, which is something different from what we have learned till now. Obviously, the questions will come from the Poisson distribution, normal distribution, binomial distribution. These type of questions will be there, but they all will come in the theory. And it is again very important and the interesting topic, the maximum likelihood estimators. And if we talk about the application, as I was browsing regarding the examples, the maximum likelihood estimator, it has not only been used just for the distribution, but it has also the application in many of the industries when the real life scenario is going on and they are finding out that which estimator is the best. And actually what we have is there are different ways to find out the estimator and the best estimator. And out of that, what we are learning is maximum likelihood estimator. So should we start? Okay. Let me start with methods of point estimation. And yes, these are all based upon the point estimation. Uh, we are not learning the methods for the confidence interval, means the interval estimation. But the methods we are going to learn will give me a single value, and that are methods for the point estimation. So if we start with, these are the common methods that anyone can use to find out the point estimation. Method of movements, maximum likelihood, and Bayesian method. But in our course, only one method is there, so we are going to continue with the maximum likelihood estimate. Now, what we have is, actually, while browsing, I got a very good online resource where the things were not discussed just simply. They have been discussing with the help of the examples. So I have just taken the same things and let's see how we are going to discuss along with. So if you continue, here they are saying there are many methods for estimating unknown parameter from the data. We will first consider the maximum likelihood estimator, which will answer the following question. Now, what questions Emily will answer you? That for which parameter value observed data have the maximum or the biggest probability? Because we know we are working with the probabilities and always we are looking for something to be happened as probability, and if something positive is happening, we know the probability should be more. We are expecting that the probability of something which is better for us to happen should have a good chance. Correct? So we are actually looking for the parameter value for which the probability of happening should be more. And MLE is an example of point estimator because this will give us the single value of the unknown parameter. This is what we have already discussed, that we are going to start with the method maximum likelihood estimator, which is used for the point estimation. Correct. What other advantage of MLE is as compared to the other methods are that it is often easy to compute. Obviously, when you will go through it, you will not say it's hard, but yes, the formula is there. You have to go for a specific instructions, the whole procedure to follow to find it out. But yes, it's not so much hard as we have the other methods. So, and what other is, it agrees with our intuition in simple examples. Whenever we are looking for something, it agrees with it that this should be the correct estimator for a given thing. And how we are going to start? We are going to start maximum likelihood estimator through, I have not taken, sorry, the series of example. I have taken only a single example. Correct? And it is again from the source that I am discussing, that when I have created the slides, actually I have taken from my own notes that I have taught to some students regarding the same probability and stats course. But there I have not in this way because we have S.C. Gupta, and a lot of things are given to there as a theory. A lot of theory is there, and we have to choose the certain topics to be taken in the class because we have a limited time in the class. You have your books, you can open that and you can see, but here we have very much less time and we are not face to face. So I thought for it's better to go for an example and then we will go through the theory part. So let's start. Example is saying a coin is flipped 100 times, and given that there were 55 heads, find the maximum likelihood estimate for the probability P of heads on a single toss. This is what we are saying, that we are flipping a coin 100 times and it is given that 55 heads appear. We have to find out the maximum likelihood estimate for the probability P of heads on a single toss. Correct? Now here if we are talking about 100 times and thing has been done, so total we are looking about 100. This is how we can say in the binomial distribution we have established the formula NCR. So out of 100, 55 heads to appear has a probability NCR 100C 55, P raised to power R and Q raised to power N minus R gives me 45. Correct? And here what we are saying, given that there were 55 hits, when it is given that there were 55 hits, so it means you are looking for the probability. Correct? And how we are pronouncing it, here we are saying the probability of 55 heads, given that the probability of heads on a single toss is P. The same thing we are just speaking on in a different way. Correct? For a given P, the probability of getting 55 heads, and what is the probability we all know, it's not a different thing. So what actually we are working for, what we are looking for, we are looking for the given data, the maximum likelihood estimator for the parameter P is the value of P that maximize the likelihood of P, the probability. We are looking for data for some given P condition, right? The probability. It means we are just looking for the value of P for which the data is most likely, whatever the maximum chance is there for a particular thing to happen. Correct? So here we know the formula. So it's not a new thing for us, and this is what is leading to the solution. But actually, what procedure we have to follow to find out the estimate is, we have to find out the derivative of the function. This is what we are actually going to do. If we find out the derivative of the function and compare it to 0, whatever the value we are getting for P is actually the value of the estimator. Here if we see, we know that normally if we talk about we have flipped a coin, and what is the chance of getting head and tail? We know that the chance is 1 by 2, 0.5. Here we are saying we have thrown a coin 100 times and we are getting 55 heads. And we know what the probability is P. So what we are looking for, we are looking for the maximum likelihood. What is the maximum chance of happening of 55 hits? So here we are saying the same formula we are using, but when we have obtained the derivative with respect to P for the same data, so we are getting, I'm not going to the derivative, you can go through it. We are getting the value as 0.55, which is more than that of 0.5, because out of 100 we are getting 55. So you can also do the same thing. 55 by 100 will give me the same value. It is just a demonstration being done by the author to show that MLA is not giving us a different thing. It is giving me the probability of happening of something, but here it is to be used in some other different ways. The procedure is giving me the same thing in the simple cases. Correct? So if we come to the theory, it will look like this. It's not looking like a simple example. So what the likelihood function definition is, and MLE, let's see it. Here we are saying if x1, x2 up to xn are the random samples of size n from a population with density function fx theta. We are talking about the probability density function given by fx theta. Here we have changed the representation. Okay, what theta is? Theta is a parameter. Normally we take, if we talk about n, the normal distribution, what we have taken? We have taken mean and sigma square. So it is a way to represent the common parameters. If we have a probability density function depending upon x and theta, theta is any population parameter. Correct? It could be mean, it could be standard deviation, it could be anything. So here we are saying if these are the random samples of size n from a population with this probability density function, then the likelihood function of the sample value is denoted by L theta, This is what the function is. It is just a normal function. And what is this? This is actually the joint density function. This word might be you have already heard. Joint density or joint probability function you have learned when we have done some of the numericals. Explicitly, I have never explained it. It is just mean that we are finding out the product of the different probabilities and combining them. uh, if I make you remind where we have learned in the Bayes theorem, when we have learned probability of A into probability of A dash B in the Bayes theorem formula. That is actually giving us the joint probability. Here we are saying joint density function. It means if we have the different samples that we have taken with particular density function, then obviously each one of them have the value f of x1 theta, f of x2 theta, f of x3 theta. And they have their own probability density function. That is a way to describe them because we have taken the different samples. So if we find out as a whole for the whole population what should be the joint density function, so it is represented by L or L theta. Theta is a parameter for a population, correct? So if I multiply these, I will get an expression like this. And what this is, as we are aware of what summation is, normally we take the sum as summation and we have used till now also. So here if you're talking about the product of fx1 fx2 up to fxn, then how we can write it down? We are going to represent it by this symbol, two lines and a bar on the top, and you can see I is going from 1 to n. I is from 1 to n, f of xi theta. Is it fine? If any doubts you are getting, be sure to ask in between, because after that we will go through the numericals to be done on the basis of these formulas, and if there is confusion now, then it will lead to the last. Correct? So this is what the notation we have taken. Then what we are saying, how to calculate the maximum likelihood estimator. Now why we are saying maximum likelihood estimator? This is a likelihood function. It is calculated in the same way as if we have learned calculus. Then what we are doing in order to find out the function at which the function value for which value it should be maximum, so what we do there, we find out the first derivative and we compare the value of second derivative, that if it is negative the value is maximum, if it is more than 0 the value is minimum. This actually we do in the finding out maximum value of the function. So it is the same thing. If we have created a maximum likelihood estimator, in order to find out the value that is making it maximum, what we are looking for? We are looking for the derivative. Calculate the first derivative with respect to the parameter theta and put it equal to 0. That will give you the values. Then after finding out the first derivative, we have to move on to the second derivative, and we have to show that it should be less than 0. The second derivative should be less than 0. And be sure to learn these conditions. It can be asked in your MCQs because they are very important regarding the definition of MLE, maximum likelihood estimator. Right? So we have to note down these two formulas. The del L of del theta is 0 and del 2L by del theta square should be less than 0. Okay? But what next thing we are going to have is we are not going to use these in this way. We have a different form. What different form is? We are going to take its log, and if you will search for it, it is log of MLE of log of likelihood function. And why we are taking log? Because when we are working here with this product now, here you can see if I find out the product, it is this. We know what is the density function of binomial distribution, Poisson distribution or normal distribution. They are very complicated function, and if I multiply them again and again n times, it will obviously lead to a big value. And we know what is the benefit of taking log. If we take log of something, it will take log of m into n as log of m plus log of n. So what happened? We are taking one value's log plus second value log plus third value log up to the nth value log. So instead of finding out a product and working upon its derivative, what we are going to do, we are going to use the convenient form. And what the convenient form is, that instead of L, take the log of L and find out its derivative and compare it with 0. Correct? And for finding out, suppose from here we have obtained a value. Here we are saying the solution theta cap. If we have theta cap as the likelihood estimator we have calculated, then in order to see that its value is maximum or not at that point, so what we have to do, we have to find out log L second derivative with respect to theta, and that should be negative. Correct? So here what we are saying, whenever a question is coming of the MLE, the maximum likelihood estimator, you have to find out. First, you have to write down a function L. What is L? L is the product of its density function. If there are n samples, we have f of x1 theta, x2 theta up to xn theta. We have to write down in the simplified form. We have to take its log so that we have the products coming in the summation form along with log. We have to take its first derivative with respect to theta, and then the second derivative to be calculated and compare it that it is negative or positive. If it is negative, then it has a maximum value, and obviously when the maximum value we are saying, that's why we are saying it's maximum likelihood function. And why it's called likelihood, because we are looking for the happening of something to be with a maximum chance. Correct? So this is the procedure. Now let's go to properties one by one. You have to learn it as such. I'm not going to prove. If you have to explore it more, I don't think that it is required, but yes, if you want to, in book it is given in the very explored form. I have tried just to write down in a simple lines, because there you can see some statement along with a good proof, so you can go through it if you want. But according to me, what I can provide you is just the layout, the properties. First, whenever we are finding out maximum likelihood estimator, it is consistent and efficient. Correct? The next we are saying it is sufficient estimator provided it exists. It exists means agar it is sufficient. It should be sufficient when it exists. If it is consistent and efficient, then it is final. Means MLE is known to be consistent as well as efficient. It is not sure to be sufficient. You have to check it. Okay? Second point is saying MLA is not necessarily unbiased. We are not sure that it is unbiased, but yes, if I am getting an estimator and it is unbiased, obviously it can be converted to the uh, unbiased estimator by increasing the sample size, because we know as n is going to increase, everything automatically is going to be approaching the population parameter, because when sample size is small, there's a chances of having some mistake in the calculation, or might be we have not taken the sample correctly, some biasness happen, because this is what is the meaning of biasness. And as we are going to increase more and more and more data values, obviously there is, if some biasness is there, it will be go through with the responses of the other samples. Correct? So that is it will be converted to unbiased estimator by increasing the sample size. Correct? Next we are saying MLA tends to be distributed normally for large sample size. Obviously it is the same thing as point 2. Whenever sample size is going to be increased, the distribution that it follows is a normal distribution. And the last point is it is invariant under the functional transformation. Now we are not talking in elaborate way what the functional transformation is. It is just that if I am going to change some of the parameter in the function, okay, then there is no much effect on the maximum likelihood estimator. So these are the properties that you have to learn. At least these to be learned. If you want to explore more, open your books and read out something which is interesting. Correct? So, so I think we have to stop here because we are left with the attendance today also. And tomorrow what we are going to start with, you can see what the slides are remaining: binomial distribution, Poisson distribution, and normal distribution. Yeah, these are the slides looking as very small one, but actually it needs elaboration to be discussed for the maximum likelihood estimator. In the class, if we normally do now, then we go actually just for the discussions, and we see that yes, R is going to be